start 50 years ago. In fact, it started 24 years before that, when two men in 1912 left Europe for different reasons. The first young man was Metodej Konečný. He left Bohuslavice, Morava in Československo. And behind he left a young bride, the former Mariana Častulik, and a one-year-old son, Vladislav. Vladislav is also known as Walter, Wally, Dad, Grandma, and what are you cooking? Meanwhile, back in Československo, Mariana, what's her name, was waiting and waiting. In 1921, the Lotsky family added Joseph Jr. to their roster and moved out of their rented flat, became property owners by buying income property as a residence with tenants, helping to pay the bills in Hawthorne. In 1921, Mariana finally got her invitation. For 9 years after he had left, Metodej secured a position in Chicago and sent her an invitation to come with a 10-year-old son, Vladislav, and 8-year-old son, Michael. On a crowded, drafty train, they made it as far as Hamburg, Germany. Here, the exhausted, bewildered trio were notified that the 10-year-old boy had a disease known as red eye and could not emigrate, could not leave the country. What could Mariana do? She had not seen her bridegroom in almost 10 years. Could she send her 10-year-old back to an uncle who cared little for him? What would happen to him? If she went back with her family, who knew when the money and arrangements could be made available the next time? Would there be a next time? What a dilemma. What a time for a commercial. Mariana did what any modern woman would do. She sent the 10-year-old son back. And she and Michael sailed off to the New World. Steerage, of course, to see what the old man had been up to. 1 year later, clear-eyed Vladislav, now 11, was invited to join his family in Chicago. He cleared Hamburg, cleared Ellis Island on July 22nd, 1922, and made his way to Chicago. Possibly Walter was surprised when he arrived in Chicago that he had a newborn brother, Frank. But 11-year-old kids have a way of figuring things out. In 1922, American-born Francis entered the first grade at the age of 6. In 1922, Czech-born Walter entered the first grade at the age of 11. The 5-member Konečný family lived in a 3-room flat on Loomis in Pilsen. After graduation from grammar school, Frances had the luxury of 2.5 years of high school when economics forced her into the labor market. Banks were closing, her parents' savings and investments were disappearing. At the age of 14, she dropped out of high school to do seamstress and handwork at home. After graduating 8th grade, Walter wasn't quite so lucky. He went right to work for the Northwestern Railroads at 32 cents an hour. By the end of the year, Wally was at another job, paying a little more. At age 17, Francis was at Smoller's as an inspector, earning $3 to $4 a week. The year, 1933, November 4th. The place, Sokup's Tavern and Dance Hall. Vlasta Zuncic talked Wally into going to the dance, and Rose Chupek asked Francis to accompany her. And that's where Fran and Wally met. And they danced, had a good time, and when the dance was over, Wally drove Fran home in his almost new Model A4. And of course, they took along a chaperone. A few weeks later, they went to another dance, this time sponsored by the Golden Pheasant Sportsman's Club and the Zuncic family. Then it was Christmas Eve, and Wally showed up with a bottle of perfume. And all Francis could say was, "I didn't get you anything." A steady round of dates, alone and with friends. Movies were 25 cents. Gasoline was 8 gallons for $1. Then on May 1st, 1935, in her family living room, Wally got down on his knee and asked, "Will you marry me?" And without hesitation, she said, "I will." They then went into the kitchen to tell her parents. And after a long pause, Joseph Lotsky Sr. looked at Walter and said, "Do you know what you're getting yourself into?" Taking that as their blessing, 13 months later, they were married, with the reception at the Mikola Alish Bohemian Hall, and it was catered by the famous trio of Kezman, Novak, and Lotsky, the bride's mother. Now, during the next few sentences, I'm going to be mentioning some names. If I mention your name, please stand, because you're a very important special guest. Of those who stood up to the wedding, Rose Chupik and Charles Lotsky are with us today. Would you please rise? And now hold your applause until we get the other names all in. If they would remain standing. Of the 100 wedding guests that day 50 years ago, with us here today, celebrating the 50th year, are some of those same guests. The Gunchus girls, Anne and Josephine. Joseph Lotsky Jr. Tony and Frank Bullock. Tony and Frank Bullock. Olivia Kudela Zelenine. Schweitzer. Stephanie Sanko Brown. Alice Fanta Olas. Mary Fanta Lotsky. Bessie Bolas Kuchera. Agnes Bolas Paskey. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, is there anybody's name I missed? Okay, thank you very much. Yes. We got people who telephone.
I'll come out and turn it.
Excuse me, girls. Okay, continuing with our little saga. In a one-bedroom, three-room apartment at 22nd and Lawndale, there was no time for a honeymoon. But with his $19.60 a week and her $15 a week salaries, they felt like millionaires. A year later, their first child was born, a son who is talking to you now. 3 years later, the second child, a daughter, whose generosity and hospitality we're enjoying this afternoon. Their three-bedroom apartment. Their three-room apartment was now too small. And with a savings of $500 as a down payment, they purchased a home on 2 lots in Riverside, Illinois. Purchase price $2,500. On December 1st, 1940, they moved in. In September of 1943, they moved to a 5-room home in Hollywood, Illinois. And here they raised their family for the next 15 years. Among their neighbors then, whom they still count among their friends, who are with us tonight, and again, please rise when I mention your name, are Dr. and Mrs. Hubner, Mr. and Mrs. Vatiska, Mr. and Mrs. Wallace Kemp. During this period of time, Wally, who had always been a laborer, always an hourly salaried person, and had tried the capitalist system with no great success, but kept trying anyhow, he happened to be in the right place at the right time. The right place was Uncle's Liquor Store in Lyons, Illinois. The right time was when some character walked in they had never seen before wearing a derby hat and told him to buy Reynolds aluminum. And with that sound information, he scraped together from the family savings $1,000 and bought 40 shares of Reynolds stock. It rose and split, and rose and split again, and rose again. At the end of the year, he saw that he had made more money with that stock as a capitalist than he had as a skilled machinist working 40 hours a week and some overtime. He continued working from one company or another, but he kept investing in real estate and stocks. In 1955, Walter got a capitalistic itch. He saw a solution to his technical and financial limitations in the motel business. Frances would hear nothing of such a gamble. But after 2.5 years of listening to his hopes, dreams, and grousing, she finally consented to go along with him on his motel hunts. In 1957, they found the right motel, but they didn't have enough money, capital. With the capital they would have by selling their home in Hollywood, there would still be several $1,000s short of buying the Beacon and Harvey. The additional funds came from friends and relatives. And I have to tell you, I was a student at the University of Chicago at that time when they bought the motel. And here's a man who's used to earning like $85 a week. The first weekend I came home, I saw their mortgage payment. The mortgage was $800 a month for the first month. Now that's a lot of money when you're making $85 a week. But of that $800, 760 of it went for interest on the loan. And still, they pulled it off. They paid off the bank on time, and they paid off all the friends and relatives who had backed them. The Beacon Motel was good, a lot of hard work, long hours, employing the skills of both husband and wife. An armed robbery in 1967 left them both scarred. A year later, another armed robbery in which both German Shepherd dogs received bullet wounds and one fatally. In 1969, Wally and Fran sold the motel, and in 1970, they settled into their current home in Orland Park. At the ages of 70 and 75, Walter and Frances are continuing an active and productive life. Walter is financial secretary for the Czechoslovak Society of America, Jan Hus chapter number 7, a position he has held with only a 2-year interruption since 1938. You might say he's the Mayor Daley of CSX. In 1963, he received his ham radio operator's license. In 1981, he successfully underwent triple bypass heart surgery. In 1984, spinal surgery. And just last year, he took and passed his first college course in computers through the Chicago Citywide College Program. Frances has been an officer in the same Czechoslovak Society as recording secretary since 1974. Her cooking skills are a wonder to us all. Welcome at both Orland Park Senior Citizens meetings, where both are active. She's gone through a lot of changes in that regard, learning to cook on a wood-burning stove, then graduating to a coal-burning stove with 3 gas burners, then onto a gas stove, and recently she took a course in microwave cooking. Hey, you gotta keep up with what's new, right? Dad and Mom, Carol and I love you and are very, very proud of you. And I'm sure that feeling is shared by all of your friends who are here today and all the many, many who could not make it today. You are the best. Thank you very much.
I want to say that Bob and Carol did a super, tremendous job. I don't know how they did it, but which, through their efforts, this is all possible for us to see all of you today, after not seeing some of you for many years. So I'm very thankful that you showed up. Appreciate it very much. And hope we can see each other a little later. Thank you.